Hi, welcome to our show, Real Insights Live today. I'm your host, Matt Green. Really excited about today's show. I think we've got some great content with a phenomenal guest. But before we jump into this, I just wanted to recognize our sponsor of today's show, a really cool local company that is just very cool. A couple guys that actually came over to my house just in the last couple of weeks, met with us, John Abrams and Clay Larkin. I think they're doing it right. Vibrant Smart Home is their company. And they really kind of approach this business differently. They're more consultants. They're not here trying to sell you any particular service or any particular products. They come over and look at your house, what you've got going on relative to having your home be automated. And then they give you just a whole bunch of different options and let you choose from the different myriad of products that allow you to make your home more smart, right? More smart. So just kind of easygoing guys came down, sat down with us, and shared with us a bunch of things that we weren't aware that were available to us in making our home more smart. And the cool thing I like about these guys is there's no monthly fees, which was important to me. I hate the idea of just continually paying for ongoing fees. They really come from a consultative type of approach. And then they have a team that shows up and professionally installs all of this stuff and make sure that it's syncing with all your current products, et cetera, et cetera. So check these guys out. It's a great way and a great idea if you're an agent to get a home more sellable. Maybe you're going to make that home, that listing, a smart home and market it as such. Or it's a great idea for a closing gift, maybe. Have these guys come in, sit down with someone that just closed on a home and help your new home buyers learn how to make their new home a smart home. So check these guys out at vibrantsmarthome.com or 833-33-SMART. So vibrantsmarthome.com, 833-33-SMART. Tell them that you heard about us here. Let them know that Matt Green suggested that you call, and maybe they'll take extra special care of you. All right, well, let's jump into our show here. And as I mentioned before, super excited about our guest, Juli Facer, who's joining me today. I've known Juli for a handful of years and have just been so impressed with her commitment to personal development and her leadership journey and self-development journey. And as I've had the opportunity to hang out with her and be in business with her in different facets, I've seen that growth and that development. She has recently become a certified trainer for Jack Canfield. And today we have a really cool topic that I'm excited about. And it's kind of based on Jack Canfield's success principles, how to get from where you are to where you want to be. So let's welcome our guest, Juli Facer. Juli, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Matt. That's a very nice introduction. I appreciate that.
Well, it's true. I think very highly of you.
Thank you.
So, Juli, let's maybe start out by giving the audience just a little bit of background. If you don't mind, share with our audience maybe your professional career path and where you started, how long you've been in real estate, and where you're at today.
Okay, sure. So I would say probably my first real job was when besides working at the rodeo and selling nachos, right? When I was a teenager, I would say probably my first real job was in a call center when I was about 18, okay. And worked my way kind of up the corporate ladder, got laid off, went and got a job at another call center, worked my way up that corporate ladder, got laid off. That's the problem with corporate America, is it's always downsizing or growing, and depending on where you get in, and it just really made me decide I need to get control of this myself and stop working for other people. So what do you do when you want to be an entrepreneur? And you get into real estate, right? So that was in 2005. And I've been a realtor ever since. Have continued to grow my business every year and work with my husband. And we have a great team located in South Davis County.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys have built a really phenomenal business. Congratulations. So tell me a little bit about when you really started to focus on this personal development, this journey that you're on relative to personal development and leadership growth, and how you really got engaged with the Jack Canfield material.
Okay, sure. So I really probably about the same time we met, I was really looking for more I don't know, meaning in my business. I felt kind of like a hamster in a wheel. Kind of all the characteristics of a typical workaholic, working all the time. Health was suffering, family was suffering, marriage was suffering. And I was hitting all the metrics of success that we're taught in life. And I just wasn't happy. And that's probably one of the reasons that I sought out your company, was just to try to kind of align myself with people that are doing cool stuff like you guys are. And, we got to the end of 2014, and it just, like you do when you're wrapping up a year, you kind of look back, and I just thought, the thought of doing this for another year, I just don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do it. It's not worth it. And so I literally Googled motivational seminar, because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to start. And I found, I saw Tony Robbins, I saw Jack Canfield, I saw Brendan Burchard, all the people that kind of do this kind of stuff. The reason that I chose Jack was he made a claim that if you applied his principles in 2 years, you would double your income and double your time off. And I thought, even if he's like 20% right, that sounds pretty good, right? And his conference was in Las Vegas. So I figured, if it sucks, we'll just hang out in Las Vegas for a week. And that's kind of how I initially found it. So that next February, my husband Brett and I went down to Las Vegas and took a 7-day transformational seminar. And, he says on the first day, this will literally change your life. And of course, I was very skeptical about that, but absolutely it has changed my whole life.
You're kind of skeptical by nature, though, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And what was it about Canfield's material that kind of resonated with you during that 7 weeks? Because I remember, or not 7 weeks, 7 days, because I do remember you coming back from that, and you were kind of a changed person, I thought. So what was it that resonated with you about that?
So, not to say anything bad about any of the other motivational people that I mentioned, because I follow all their work. But I think what really is different for me about Jack is it's not a cheerleading seminar. It's not rah. Nobody in there is jumping up and down screaming, which is kind of, like you mentioned, I'm skeptical. I am pretty skeptical. And I think that while that stuff is really like a pep rally before a football game is great for the football game, I didn't want to get jacked up. I wanted to change. I wanted everything to change. I was really pretty bankrupt emotionally. And I didn't want to go get excited. I wanted real change. And if you're familiar with Jack, he's very soft-spoken and mild. But the stuff he says, he doesn't have to convince you, because he has so many examples of how this stuff has really worked literally for every single person that has done it. And I thought, you can't really argue with that. I started reading his book, and it's just story after story of how normal people like me that aren't, necessarily brilliant people that have amazing connections have been able to really just impact their life. So I think that was why him in particular, I thought, this is somebody I feel like I could have just a conversation with. It was approachable to me.
Yeah. I think that's an important point for a lot of us, because I think sometimes, I was talking to someone the other day about, excuse me, different databases that we use, or CRMs, right? Client or customer relationship management platforms that we use. And I'm frequently asked, what is the best one out there? And the reality of that is the best one is the one that you'll use. Right. And I think, what struck me about what you said is that there are a lot of really great trainers and teachers and mentors out there. But the one that probably, and most of them teach a lot of similar things, but their approach might be a little bit different. And I guess what I'd encourage or say my takeaway is from that, and encourage others to think about, is if you go to a Tony Robbins event or a different event and it doesn't resonate with you immediately, that there might be a different personality out there that's teaching very similar models, but their approach is just a little bit different. And when that resonates with you, and then you can really plug in, that's where you start to see the value. It's that person or that trainer or that mentor that resonates with you that is the most effective. And I appreciate you kind of being open about that. I like that. So today our title is in the piece that we really wanted to talk about, which I think is really exciting, is how to get from where you are to where you want to be. And I know in the last handful of months, you took on this really great focus of becoming a certified Jack Canfield trainer. And that's why we're so excited to have you on as a guest today. But let's talk a little bit about that. Start us down that conversation, how to get from where you are to where you want to be.
Sure. So I think what the success principles teaches is, and what I got certified to teach, is that there is a system. It's similar to like a combination lock, that if you know the combination and you do the right things in the right order, that the lock will always open. And the combination lock being the lock to whatever it is that you want to accomplish, whatever type of goal it is. There's 7 different categories that he encourages us to set goals in, but even if that's too complicated, he says just make 3: 1 to be more happy, 1 to be more healthy, and 1 to be more wealthy. Because if we're all happier, healthier, and wealthier at the end of every year, I think that's a success. So, from where you are to where you want to be, it's a system to help you figure out what's in the way. Because I think we all, not all of us, but a lot of us set goals. I mean, especially this time of year, I'm sure we all set some New Year's resolutions or some goals for this year. And so many people don't accomplish it. And this is a system to help you really figure out why and to be able to do it if you really want to.
Yeah, love that. So one of the very first principles he talks about is really taking 100% ownership. And I loved his formula that he talks about with E plus R equals O, right? The event plus our response equals the outcome. And, I think as we talk about kind of that victim mentality, their formula is just the event equals the outcome. But he really talks about taking 100% responsibility or ownership for our life. As you've applied that and thought about that, what difference have you seen that make in your life in the last handful of years?
Well, prior to learning that, I was taking some responsibility, but I wasn't taking 100% responsibility. I was maybe taking like 85% responsibility. I was thinking, I can make it happen. And I had established some form of success. But for my personal life, like I had some health issues that were, what am I supposed to do about that, right? It's your health. My business, the interest rates, the economy, my clients, things, other people that are outside my control, that's kind of the other 15%. Well, what you learn through E plus R equals O is the event is always neutral. You can't blame the event. The event's just what happened. The event you can't judge the event because the event's the event. And the only thing you can really change is your response. And if interest rates going up was going to hurt the real estate market, that would mean that every single realtor would struggle in that scenario. And that's not the case. Or, lots of other examples as far as with my foot and my health problem. There's other people that don't even have legs, that have done such amazing things. And it just really, he has a philosophy that we've actually established in our office too, where there's no blaming, no complaints, and no excuses. And so, or it's a $2 fine. We have that in our office because a lot of people, especially in the office, want to just make excuses and blame other people or just complain about it. And that was a pretty life-changing principle, the complaining part, because I would take responsibility, but I'd still complain. And, you learn that nobody complains about things that they can't control. Really, if you think about the things that you complain about, it's because you have a reference point for something that you would rather have, but you just aren't willing to do anything different. Like, for example, the weather. Like, you can move if you don't like the weather. It's because there's better weather somewhere else and you just don't want to move. So, to people that know me know that I like to complain. I think that's why this work has been so impactful for me in particular, is I am not a rainbows and butterflies and Care Bears kind of person. I'm just, I've always been cynical. I've always been a little bit negative, and to be able to eliminate that from my vocabulary. Of course, I'm still working on it. I'm definitely a work in progress with this stuff, but it's, that probably changed my life more than most things, is to say, you know what, whatever's going on that you're complaining about, you know something better and you want something better. And that's great. Like, this is a seed of opportunity. If you're complaining, that's a little clue that, hey, here's something that maybe you should look at and change.
Yeah, it's interesting when you start to really evaluate this, because I think we make certain assumptions that maybe we do, or we would say that we own it, or that we have 100% responsibility, that we own our circumstance 100%. But as we really look inward and evaluate deeper, we may realize that that's not completely true. That's not completely and wholly true when we really evaluate it. And I appreciate you being so vulnerable and open that even like the complaining element can, demonstrate or help us be aware that maybe we're not taking 100% responsibility or owning that, scenario. So you talked a little bit about, and Jack talks a little bit about this exercise of creating a joy list. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about that.
So one of the first things that you do in this combination lock is you make a list of things that you really love to do, that you basically, all the times in your life where you experience joy. And which I thought was really corny and stupid when I first started doing it. But the whole reason for it is, your joy is an inner guidance system for what your purpose is and what you're really, if you believe in what you're meant to be here for. So anytime that you're experiencing joy, that's you're on purpose. You're either with people that are going to help you really in your life. And I always thought whenever I was having a lot of fun, I kind of needed to just get back to work. I didn't really see that. But as I looked at it and in learning more about it, we all like different stuff. We're all really turned on and lit up by all different things. And so, the things like in particular in my business that did not bring me joy, there's actually other people that really like to do that stuff. Like, there's people really seriously that like to put up for sale signs. They do. I don't know why, but they like to do it. There's people that really enjoy filling out paperwork and doing accounting. I don't know why, but they really do. And, it's kind of like the Pareto principle of 80-20. If you can spend 80 or 20% of your time doing the things you don't like and 80% of the times doing the things that you really do like, the follow-up to that process is you make a list of everything that you do all day, either personal or business. And you go through this exercise where you identify the things that you really love, and and the things also that make you money. And then that's where the gold is. If you love it and you can earn money doing it, then do that like all the time, as much as possible. And then also, what are the things that you're doing that somebody else can do? And then also, what are the things that you do that really nobody else can do? And then really start to organize your calendar around that.
Is this really kind of part of his principle about getting clear? Because I know he really focuses on getting clear about why you're here, right? Mm-hmm. And that why frequently aligns with where we find happiness or joy or find that flow, that sweet spot. Mm-hmm. And so this process, I think, and you coach me on this a little bit, but is that part of the process of identifying and getting clarity about why you're here?
Well, yes, absolutely. Because I think, for me anyway, I'll speak for myself. I have always tried to model myself off of other people, right? Other people that are doing what I want to do, and my role models in life that are successful, and trying to kind of do it their way. And I think that's fine, but I think that it's better when I can do it my way and really do it in a way that's authentic for me. Because for example, one thing we changed after we started this work is really all of our marketing, 100% of our marketing, because it was all based on classes we'd taken and other people. And it wasn't us, it wasn't our message, and it was working okay, but it wasn't really who we really are. And I mean, I'm sure, when you're talking to somebody and it's a genuine conversation versus, something they kind of think they're supposed to say, it just feels different. And
oh my gosh, like not even close, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can just see and feel the authenticity of someone that's really passionate about something that they love and enjoy versus someone that's just going through the motions.
Right. So, what we've done in our business the last couple of years, and now what we're teaching our team to do, and what I hope to continue to share with others through these workshops, is you can be really, really successful doing exactly what you want to do, exactly the way you want to do it. Because there's, billions of people in this world. And just because like you went to a class and somebody said that this is the way you should act and this is the way to be successful, I mean, that's how they got successful. That's not how you're going to get successful. And you've got to find, for me, I need to find my message, like who am I really, and what do I really want to do, and who can I connect with? And that might not work for everybody. In fact, our business went down temporarily while we kind of changed frequencies. I heard it put that we were on this one radio frequency, and then we changed our frequency, and it took a minute for people to find us on this new frequency. But it's like new people, new clients.
And probably people that more closely align with who you are. And one of the best pieces of advice I was given years ago was right in alignment with what you're saying. And that is, once you really commit to being authentic and who you are, you attract right? You attract like-minded people. And really, how much more fun is life and work and all those things when you're surrounded by people that are interesting and like-minded and, have that same interest. And it's interesting, and I appreciate you sharing the fact that when you made that transition for a period of time, your business actually went backwards. But I really believe, and I'm sure you've experienced, that ultimately, it's going to create a business that's more fulfilling, more enjoyable, because you're now attracting the kind of people that are really drawn to your authentic person, right?
Well, and now we're back, right? I mean, what he says is right. We have doubled our income, and we've probably tripled our time off. But
I have been thoroughly impressed with your travel schedule and the things that you guys do. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I was struck by your comment is just this willingness when you engage in the content to set aside ego. And because one of the things that you said was that when you first got into Canfield stuff, you're like, oh, that's kind of corny. Right. And I remember a couple of years ago, I went to Unleash the Power Within with Tony Robbins. And I think my personality more closely aligns with you maybe than some others that love Tony Robbins. And I love Tony Robbins. I love his content. And but knowing that, a good friend of mine said to me before I went there, they just said, look, Matt, set aside your ego, set aside your unwillingness to participate in corny stuff and cheerleading and all that kind of stuff, and just go in and play full out. Just do whatever he says, play full out. And I'm so grateful that that person talked to me about that before I showed up, because it either would have taken me a couple days to get to that point, or I would have never kind of crossed that line, and I would have been the person that was sitting in the back or just kind of partially listening or not completely playing full out. And the event was completely different for me because I did that. And I loved how you said, it was corny, or I still did it. Writing these lists down and going through these exercises, even though sometimes we think it's corny or doesn't align with exactly who we are, initially will really help us have that experience to get in touch with those things. And I appreciate you sharing that. I think there's a lot of value in those comments. All right.
Well, I think you just have to want something different. If everything's great and perfect, you probably wouldn't do any of this stuff because you're fine. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and creating a different result, expecting a different result. And I think that I was willing to go through that because I really just wanted a different result, and the way I was going about life was getting me a particular result, which was okay, but I wanted a different result. So I thought, I've got to just trust that this is going to work. And honestly, the more I did it, the more joy I had as an inner guidance system. Right. And I honestly didn't think it would actually make us more money. I think at the time I didn't care. It wasn't worth it anymore. In fact, the conversation that Brett and I had at that first conference was, we need to change everything. And if we have to eat like mayonnaise sandwiches for the rest of our lives because we just aren't going to be able to afford real food, that's going to have to be the way it is, because this isn't working. Like, this is not working. And I mean, of course, we're not eating mayonnaise sandwiches. Everything's great. And we've certainly been able to, because he promises that. not that money is everything. And I'm not saying that from where you are to where you want to be needs to be make more money. But I mean, for me, who doesn't want more money? I don't understand people that don't want more money, but that's cool.
Well,
I'm glad
I very
that there's
specifically remember that not being your priority when you started this. I mean, I remember you very specifically talking to me about what you were hoping to achieve by starting this journey, and it was joy. It was not about the money. I remember you specifically saying, I don't care if I don't need to make more money. I need to enjoy what I'm doing. I need to get to the end of the year and not look back and go, I hate doing what I'm doing. So yeah, very, very cool. So one of Canfield's principles is kind of focuses around who we surround ourselves with. Talk a little bit about that. Before we do this, we've got a number of really great viewers on. I just wanted to share a couple of comments with you. So Rachel Story said, I love the things we have been implementing from Jack Canfield within our team. I feel inspired and motivated like I never have before. Very cool. Ginger Trask, so refreshing. Cassie Dow, love that. So a lot of people resonating with the things that you're sharing. So appreciate everyone joining us today. So talk to us a little bit about this principle about surrounding ourselves or being conscious and purposeful about who we surround ourselves with.
Sure. So I think, you mentioned like attracts like, and the people that we surround ourselves with definitely impact what we're able to do in the world and how inspired we are to do things differently. I didn't really like this exercise when I first did it. We'll just say that I didn't like any of them when I first did it.
It's work to get to the other side, right?
Yeah.
From getting from where we're at today to different takes work. And a lot of times that work comes in the form of exercises or processes that aren't necessarily, what we normally would do. Otherwise it would already be there.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Good point. But yeah, I felt like this was like, I'm going to be all judgmental about everybody in my life, and I felt like that felt like I was superior, and I just didn't want to do that. But what I found is that, you get to choose, I get to choose where I put my body and who I spend time with. And it doesn't really, we all have these circles that we're naturally put in. And I think that not taking 100% responsibility for that, I just kind of just stayed in those circles instead of really looking at who in my life is really making me feel awesome and like I can do anything. And they really are my biggest cheerleaders. And who do I hang out with that I feel judged? And I feel like I've got to be a certain way around them and I can't be who I really am. And then limiting and disassociating with people that make me feel like that. And probably more importantly, who's missing, like who in my life is missing, maybe I don't have a very long list of people that make me feel amazing. And I need to go seek that out and create that in my own life and be really intentional about it. And also I think be more aware. And if I'm with a new client or if I'm with a business associate or a friend, like how am I showing up in this relationship? And the biggest thing is make sure that I'm going to be that positive force for everybody that's in my life, right? Instead of thinking, how are they impacting me? Like, how am I impacting them? And that was probably bigger than really limiting all the minus. They have you do a plus sign and a minus sign exercise for people in your life. And I think that me showing up as a plus sign was probably bigger than trying to find more plus signs. Like magically, of course, everybody becomes a plus sign if I'm a plus sign. I mean, it's funny how that works, right? But yeah, just really looking at how we're all affected by other people's energy. You can be the person that walks into a room and everybody's excited that you're there and can't wait to talk to you. And you can be the person that everybody's like, oh, don't make eye contact. Like, I hope she doesn't come over and talk to me, And I think just being aware of that.
Yeah, what a great perspective. I hadn't really thought about that when I was reading my notes on some of the material, and that idea of not only surrounding ourselves with those people that are positively influence us and bring us energy, but looking internally and saying, how do other people perceive me relative to, am I a plus or am I a minus in their relationship evaluation? I love that. One of his conversations about becoming an inverse paranoid. I love, when I first read that, I was like, a what? and this idea of this inverse paranoid where, we are just assuming that the world is here to great and positive things are going to happen as a result of whatever is going on in the world. And I just love that concept. And it made me think about that when you talked about evaluating personally. Do people perceive me as a plus in the relationship or a negative? And I think when we start to think about life that way, then it's more easy for us to become that positive influence and be a plus in other people's lives. So Julie, talk a little bit about how you've applied some of these ideas with the goal setting and the different principles with your team and your person, and how does it differentiate from maybe what you've tried to do in the past with goal setting?
Sure. So, in our business, we're always encouraged to set production goals for the year. And I've done that for my whole real estate career. But, what I've done personally the last few years, and then this year with my team, is had everybody approach that conversation. First, you got to start with your passion and purpose. And there's exercises that we do to figure out what that is. Like, what do I really want to do? Who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? And then from there, start figuring out what's my big vision for my life. What makes me happy, like the joy list. And then start setting goals for the year from that place, from a really, like a deeper understanding of what all those things are. Plus, I think also sharing all those things with our team has been really good for our team, because now we all know what everybody's trying to do, not just in our business. We know what people's passions are and what their purpose is and what they're trying to accomplish at home. And, that's been really good. I think that a lot of people, business owners, and me too, I kept this a secret probably for a couple of years as far as with my team. I think people are reluctant to have those conversations in a business setting, because I don't know why. I don't know why, I guess, but they just are. They're just reluctant to really bring that into the conversation. But I think it's a huge mistake, because if you don't know what's driving somebody at home and in their heart, like, how are you going to help them hit their business goal? Because that's probably what's in the way. All of us, the biggest thing that's in all of our way for accomplishing our goals is what's between our ears and what we're going home to and how we're dealing with that. And if you're not talking about it, then, they're talking about you at dinner. So why aren't you talking about, what's going on at home? So that's been really good, I think, for all of us to know what each other want to accomplish. But then I think more importantly, if you put your purpose in your goal, then there's a much bigger reason and more motivation to actually make it happen.
Yeah, man, that's powerful. I think about how within our industry, teams have generally such huge turnover, really specifically in the agent role or team member role, but also at the administrative level. And, I think one of the greatest lessons that I've become more and more aware of over the years is that compensation, as it relates to people's happiness in the workplace and life, it is pretty low on the list. And yet that's where we end up talking and not really going deep about helping people feel appreciated and loved and getting an understanding of what drives them and motivates them and having conversations around that, and then pouring into people and helping them grow and develop personally. When we start to do that better at a higher level, not only are we helping people be happier and develop and grow, but a side effect of that is that we don't see the turnover. They experience success and enjoy being with us and stay in business with us longer. And I think that's those are great points that you shared. And we're seeing that, from an outsider's perspective in your team. Like, as I hear the people on your team and in your business talk, those are the kinds of experiences they're having.
Well, can I share something real quick on that? Please. So in the program, there's a study that they quote about employee satisfaction. And they have all the employees, kind of, I think, more admin type roles, rate on a scale of 1 to 10 what's most important and least important. And then they have the superiors rate on a scale of 1 to 10 what they think they're going to say. And of course, the superiors say compensation, paid time off, working conditions, all the stuff basically that the business owner's writing a check for, right? And honestly, that stuff is like number 6, 7, and 8, not 1, 2, and 3 in the study.
Mm.
And number 1 is feeling like I'm part of a team. Number 2 is having feeling like my job has an impact, like it matters. And so I absolutely agree that that's a huge opportunity for anybody that's not even necessarily a boss, but just what an awareness for me to realize that that's not even, I mean, really think about yourself, Matt. I mean, is that what's most important to you? Compensation?
No.
No, of course not.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's spot on. And I think it's a huge awakening for some of us who are maybe having the turnover or not having the engagement from people we're in business with at that level. There's an opportunity for us to focus on those things and learn the dialogues and the exercises that can help us, make a difference in people's lives. I love that. So we continue to have a really nice group of people listening along, Juli. I wanted to share with you, Liz Sayers says, thank you, Juli, for introducing me to Jack Canfield. Definitely has been life-changing for me, which is great. I know you're making a big impact on a number of people with what you're sharing. If you're liking what we're talking about today and you think maybe your audience would have value or your friends would have value in this, please go ahead and share this. We've got a bit more that we're going to cover with Juli today, so would love for you to share the feed today. If you have any other questions or anything else that you'd like to ask Juli or insert into our conversation, feel free to make comments and definitely give us lots of thumbs up and love. We always appreciate those. So Juli, talk a little bit about maybe how else you're using this with your team to keep them on track. I know there's kind of 3 pieces from our notes that we talked about: incompleteness or incompletes, tolerations, and irritations, right? So talk maybe a little bit about that if you would.
Sure. And I got to use a disclaimer though. This whole doing this with my team piece is pretty new. Really, this has been a really personal journey for me that I've really only in the last 6 months started to kind of share it. So I'm definitely not the expert on how to incorporate this. My team and I, they're great because they've been really patient with me. They know that it's new for me. And so we're learning together. So just wanted to make sure I put that out there that because I'm sure my team's watching. And so I'm not saying that we've got it figured out, but we're figuring it out together.
My friend, we're all in different stages of that, right? So we're all developing. So, but I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that.
But as far as incompletes, tolerations, and irritations, so what happens when what the program teaches us is you set a goal. I'm sure we've all experienced this. You set a goal. You're totally committed to it. You're so excited about it. You get out there in the world to make it happen. And then stuff comes up, right? All this stuff like bubbles up to the surface that's going to get you, kind of knock you off track and prevent you from potentially accomplishing that. And this is a process where you really actually go through and you start to outline any of your incompletes, meaning anything in your life that's incomplete, taxes that you haven't paid, debt that you haven't paid, a garage that needs to be cleaned up. You can't park in your garage. If you're trying to create this big, amazing life, but you don't have power to park in your own garage, like you're kind of sending a message to your self-conscious that you really can't change anything. If you can't get the stuff out of your garage, like how are you going to really make a big difference in your business, right? So any incompletes, anything that you're tolerating, just for example, like one thing that was on our team, our transaction coordinator had a stack of picture frames that were in the hall that needed pictures in them that she walked by every single day. They just drove her crazy. And so anything like that you can clutter, the program says that it all takes little attention points. We only have so many points that we wake up with every day. Everybody's got a different set of points probably. Some people really have a low set of points that they can tolerate in a day, and some of us have a lot higher, but we have a limited amount of points to spend throughout the day. And all of that stuff that's bugging us is taking away our points. And you don't have the attention to put into this other new life that you're creating, because things have to change. Like you mentioned earlier, Matt, if you were able to do it, you would have done it already. If everything in your life was just set up to make it happen already, then you would have done it. So this is a process where you kind of figure out like what's in the way and then put a plan together. And also I think get engagement from home usually is a big piece of that puzzle.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that, one of my real estate mentors calls it home court advantage. If you're trying to do something major, awesome at work, but you don't have home court advantage, meaning support from your family at home, it's not going to work. You're always going to be up against that. So, really getting the engaged, sharing your goals, sharing what you're wanting to accomplish, sharing what's in it for them. A big thing is setting like family goals, putting goals on the refrigerator for the family of what they get when you hit your goals, and getting them engaged in the process and helping them to see that this is really going to be better for everybody. And I think also a big thing that's happened from that, at least for us, is teaching our children to make their own incompletes, tolerations, and irritations list, and teaching them a lot younger than I learned that you can create whatever you want. You don't have to put up with things in your life that you don't like within reason, right? But I think so many of us just think that we're dealt the hand that we're dealt, and that's not true at all. Like at all. For the poker players, there's unlimited trade-ins. If you get cards you don't like, you can do it unlimited until you get the hand that you want. You can just keep doing it over time. So anyway, just kind of, I think first of all, getting permission to do that is a big part of it. Like if you're putting up with stuff, it's your own fault, and you have permission to change that if that's something that you want to do, and then start putting a plan together. Like one thing for us is we moved this last year because of that. Because there was just things at our old house that we would change them. We changed several things over the last couple of years. And then we just decided, let's just move. Like, why do we live here?
Yeah. Is that part of that discussion around building a support team, making sure that you've got people that are buying into what you want your life to look like and the changes that you're going to commit to?
Well, yeah. So build a support team is a few different parts. One is figuring out if there's people in your life that are missing, like maybe a housekeeper, somebody to mow your lawn. If mowing the lawn and cleaning your house is on your joy list, then by all means do it. But if it's not, chances are you probably make more than $15 an hour, which is what you would pay somebody to do that stuff. So I think it's just like getting permission. I think that in our society, there's an attitude that we have to do everything ourselves. And there's some kind of DIY pride that you don't have anybody help you.
Right.
And, when we first went through this material, we didn't even have an assistant. It was Brett and I, and that's it. Because we were just doing everything ourselves, right? Like why we don't need any help. We can do this by ourselves. So building a support team, I think, first of all, is recognizing like who else can I get in my life to help me do some of this stuff so that I'm freed up to do the money-making joy activities. And then also building a support team is absolutely, especially I would say at home and in your close relationships and in just any close associations, business partners. Are we all on the same page? Because I don't think we really, at least for me, I don't know that I really shared a lot of what I was trying to accomplish prior to going through this stuff. I just kind of kept it all to myself. It was like a secret. And there's a study that I love that if you set a goal, you have a certain percentage better chance of accomplishing it versus just like, I'm going to do really good this year, but I don't really have a goal. If you set a goal and you tell somebody, your chances go up like 20%. I wish I had the numbers in front of me, but it's a lot just by telling somebody.
Yeah.
And then if you create accountability,
so like you identify the goal, and then if you write it down, it goes up exponentially. And then if you write it down and tell other people, like it even goes up exponentially from there that you're going to accomplish that. Yeah. Right.
So I think that, we don't necessarily always do that at home and with our friends. So I don't know. I think there's this, I've heard it called the tall poppy syndrome. You don't want to be the tall poppy. You don't want to be like the one that stands out in your friendship circles and become unrelatable to other people. And I think a lot of this stuff is a little far out to some people. It was for me.
Yeah.
And that's that whole like, well, look at you. Who do you think you are doing all this cool stuff?
There was a comment that, or a section of Jack's book that I wanted to share. It's a quote from the book. It says, successful people adhere to the no exceptions rule when it comes to their daily disciplines. Once you make 100% commitment to something, there are no exceptions. It's a done deal, non-negotiable, case closed, over and out. He really talks about this idea that once we've drawn a line in the sand and said, no matter what, 100%, I'm going to do these specific activities that are important to me from the standpoint of me achieving my goals. And there's just no question that every single day I'm going to do these activities versus kind of like the 99%, like waking up every day going, maybe today I'm not going to do it. It's just set in our mind an absolute commitment that these are the things I do every single day. How's that changed your life as you've implemented that kind of a thought process?
Well, it's exactly like what you said. If it's 99% of the time you're going to do it, then every single day you're going to think about if today's the day you're not. And chances are it'll be less than 99% of the time that you'll actually do it. So I think it's deciding those non-negotiables. Like, this is definitely going to happen for me today and every day. I mean, I think you got to kind of take it, I don't know. For me, I got to take that stuff a week at a time, a month at a time, not necessarily forever at a time.
Yeah, maybe it's every business day or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So, like prospecting or exercise or drinking water or, getting the minimum amount of sleep that you've decided your body needs, or taking your vitamins, or, it's like whatever you decide, or these are the things that definitely need to happen for me to be successful, which is part of the process too. When you set your goal, you kind of chunk it down and break it into now what am I going to do? And then it's making that 100% commitment that that's what you're actually going to do. And then, that's easier said than done. There's a lot of things in the program that kind of help you to troubleshoot what's going to maybe come up for you. Because most people can't say, okay, I'm committed to this goal and I'm 100% going to do it every single day. Like, that's just not, you've been doing it a certain way for how many years. It takes a while it doesn't take a while. It takes an awareness. It takes a second of a real commitment, but I think it takes an awareness of, why have you not made that commitment before? Because probably it's been a goal that's been important to you for a while, so kind of going back, and there's a lot of material on removing blocks and limiting beliefs. So, because like that's again, like one of the combination numbers. You do the vision and the goal setting, and that's cool. And then you start getting rid of what's in the way as far as irritations. But then there's also like a major component that you won't even be aware of until you get to that part of the process, because it's not even in your conscious mind. But there's a major component that I think that gets everybody if you don't deal with it, which is the self-talk and the self-critic and, what's going on that's prevented you in the past. When you get to that point, you start getting momentum, something happens, and like dealing with that something that happened.
And those will show up at different times, at different levels. The limiting beliefs that you may have today are going to be significantly different than the limiting beliefs you have a year or two from now. And I think that's an important point to understand, that you don't just simply attend one of these trainings for 7 days and come back a changed person wholly, right? It's progress over perfection. It's a commitment to the journey and personal development over time, and sticking with these systems and models that help you continue to develop and grow. So I think one of the subjects I wanted to kind of wrap up with that I think you and I talked a little bit about is avoiding burnout. And I think for agents and a lot of business professionals, it's easy for us to get to a point where we're feeling overwhelmed and feeling that burnout in our role. How do you keep the momentum and the commitment to this personal development and growth and avoid burnout in life and in your job and so forth?
Well, there's the analogy I use is if you forget to charge your cell phone tonight and you leave for work tomorrow and you're on like 12% battery life, you're probably going to do only the essential activities tomorrow, make the essential phone calls tomorrow. Like, you realize you really don't have much left, right? Well, what happens is we all forget to charge our batteries overnight or over a month or over a year. We just don't charge our batteries. And we go out into our day with a 12% battery and think we can still do everything that we would do with 100% battery. So it's a, there's this buzzword lately called self-care, right? So it's about figuring out what is my ideal self-care plan to keep my batteries at 100%. What are the signs that my batteries are running low? What's the quickest ways that I can charge them? And then I'm going to share that with my coworkers and my team. And I think everybody's different. For me, it's biking, hiking, getting a good night's sleep, going on vacation, but everybody's got a little bit different way to charge their batteries. But I think it's, first of all, just like recognizing that there's nothing wrong with that. There's no judgment. Everybody deals with that. And because I think, again, in our society with this go, go, go work attitude, we think we're all just supposed to be at 100% all the time. And that's not realistic at all. And my batteries were totally drained when I first sought out this material, and I've been slowly charging them back up. And it's just kind of figuring out for my team, for myself, and then for my team, helping them figure out what are their signs when their batteries are going down. And, like for me, I start forgetting appointments. I start running late all the time. It's just, we all have our different things that we do when our batteries are going low. But like really just as, I mean, if your phone was at 12%, you'd be freaking out, right?
Yes.
Well, why are you not freaking out that you're at 12%?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your phone is your phone. Like, this is your life. Your life is at 12%, and you're just going to keep going. I mean, that's why, it's not good. So anyway, it's just really making that a major priority, because if for myself and for my team, if we can be at 100% or even 70%, like what can we do in a day? What can we do in a year? Versus if we're just going to burn the candle at both ends and run like a hamster in a wheel, but we're being super productive, but not really, so it's just making that a bigger priority.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think as I've gotten older, this has become more, this is brought to my awareness in a bigger way, because in the past, I think I felt like I could just go all day long. And, and today that's not so much the case. So I think there's two elements of this discussion. One is, where are you relative to your batteries, in the bigger journey, and are you experiencing burnout because you just don't enjoy what you're doing anymore and the activities of what's needed to get the results you want. And I think there's some more, global work sometimes that needs to be done, and really reevaluating, what's our purpose and what creates the joy. And then there's the daily battery management, right? Where we think about, okay, how do I design my day to day in order for me to be most effective and efficient in the days that I have? And it's different for everyone. Some people love to exercise first thing in the morning. I'm not a morning guy. I cannot get a good workout in the morning. It's just me like hanging on for dear life and just hate it. But if I work out in the afternoon, I get a much better workout. And then I wake up rested, fueled, get a good breakfast, and I can knock out a ton of work in the morning. And so I try to protect my mornings for really kind of brain power. And then in the afternoons, I like to do my workout, and designing my day around some of those things where I can think about how am I going to recharge my battery during the course of the day to make my time during the day most effective. Those are two different things, but equally important that we focus on. Juli, I know, thank you so much for your time today. First of all, I think you've shared so many, just great pearls of wisdom. I know that you've got some classes that you're going to teach around this material in the coming months. Tell the group a little bit about what you've got coming up and how they can learn more and how they can find you online, connect with you if they have additional questions, and potentially get registered to attend your upcoming event.
Okay. So I'm going to do a series of 3 kind of lunch and learn workshops. They build on each other, so it's better if people can come to all 3 of them. But they're standalone too, so don't feel like you can't come if you can't make all 3 of them. And we're going to start the first Friday in March and then run it for 3 months, the first Friday of the next 3 months. We'll have a lunch sponsor, so lunch will be provided, but just a really, kind of casual. It's going to be smaller. Probably, I figure we have 20 people, maybe room for 20 people in the training room. I definitely want people to RSVP so we can get the right training materials. But yeah, it's really just exactly what we're talking about. Figuring out what's your passion and purpose. What do you really love to do? How can you build your goals and business off of that? And then the component that we talked about is keeping the batteries charged and figuring out what's in the way. So those are the 3. It's going to be a really light conversation because it's only 90 minutes, right? But kind of an introduction, more of like even a mastermind about doing some of these exercises that I talked about and trying to figure out what that is for whoever chooses to attend.
Nice. Thank you for doing that. That's huge content and great value. How do people RSVP, and do you want to share with people how to connect with you on Facebook?
Yeah, I think probably the easiest way is find me on Facebook, Juli Facer, Julifacer. or you can email me at julifacer@gmail.com.
And should they just let you know there if they're interested in attending? Great.
Yes, that would be great.
Awesome. Juli, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Excited to see what you're going to accomplish in the coming years. So
no, I appreciate you. You're definitely a plus sign in my life. So thank you for thanks for having me on this today. It was fun.
Thank you. Let's just a quick reminder, Juli, again, thank you for being on the show. A quick reminder for those that are still with us that in the next couple of weeks, we have a really phenomenal guest, Dick Dillingham, one of the absolute top instructors with Keller Williams, is going to join us. He's going to be coming out in a couple of months to teach Quantum Leap, Gary Keller's kind of pinnacle training event about personal development and personal reflection, and how and this is one of the things I loved about our conversation today with Juli, is really it starts with that personal reflection, that work on ourselves, and then we really start to see that show up in our businesses and our lives and the way it impacts others. So stay tuned and look for an announcement with that upcoming information. We'll do, again, a Facebook Live with Dick Dillingham in the coming weeks in preparation for his visit to Utah, where he'll be teaching Quantum Leap. All right, that's it for us today. Thanks so much for joining us. Peace, love, happiness, and thanks for all that have commented today. Please share and give us a like if you like today's content, and share it out with those that you think might see value in our material. We'll also be reposting this in the coming days on our YouTube channel, so kwutah.tv. And also look forward in the next handful of weeks, we will be setting up our full-on podcast. So listeners will be able to download from iTunes, etc., and get access to all this stuff. So anyways, thank you again for the comments, and thank you again to our great guest, Juli Facer, and our sponsor today. Really fantastic group that's helping you and your clients smartify your homes. John Abrams and Clay Larkin with Vibrant Smart Home. We'll look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks.